I was gonna ask you about that too. You were talking about, making a film at 24, 25. I'm like, how'd you put that together? Because that is really impressive.
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime. I didn't even know that till some woman said she wanted to watch it, and I was like, "Oh, it's hard to find." It's called Amongst Friends, and it was like a big Sundance movie in the early '90s. I was one of the OG,
You
like,
shot it with film.
yeah,
Oh,
It's a
hell yeah.
different animal
yeah, it
than
was
what we
shot.
got today.
Yeah,
It's
I would still shoot
can't
on
keep
film.
rolling the camera and
Yeah.
getting takes.
They don't even make the cameras anymore. What are you talking about? So, no, this woman was like, "Oh, I watched a movie last night." I'm like, "Oh, how'd you find it? Like with like an old VHS tape or something?" She's like, "No, it's on Amazon Prime." And I'm like, "It is?" And then I realized MGM owned it and they
Oh,
sold
wow.
the library, right?
Yep.
So I'm like sitting in my room and I'm like, "What am I gonna watch?" I'm like, "Oh, let's put on my movie, right?" And I put it on him. I think I had like freshly bathed from my bathtub. I'm in like a fluffy robe, and I put it on, and all of a sudden, like this bong, the guy's like, it's the sound of a guy smoking out of a bong, and it says a Rob Weiss film, and my voice comes up, and I immediately go like I start to have like a panic attack. Like I don't even know why. Like I should have enjoyed this nice nostalgic moment. And instead, I'm like in slow motion with the remote, like the Matrix, like trying to turn this thing off. But it was a wild experience. The whole thing was just, you know, for lack of better terminology, it was like a cosmic thing where you go, there's no reason why I should have been able to write that movie, much less direct it, make it, get it financed, get it in Sundance, get it in theaters, and build a life for myself other than, the universe conspiring to get me out of that place I was in my life in Long Island at that time and out to the West Coast. And then my whole family followed.
Oh wow.
So basically, it created this migration for all my relatives to move out to California and start the next generation in the Weiss family as LA people, California people. So, and that didn't even dawn on me for like a couple decades. But even the Doug Ellens of the world and all those guys, they were all around for Amongst Friends. And,
Yeah.
I think it was whether or not people actually worked on it. Doug was there for casting sessions. He used my office. I had an office at Universal. After the release, he used it to cast his AFI stuff. But, being around it was inspiring to all of us
Yeah.
to see one of us having made something because so many of the people we grew up with said they were going to make things and nobody was making shit.
Yeah.
So it actually helped. It was, like they say, a rising tide raises all boats. It had actually helped the whole crew of us, I think, to some degree. But how it really got done, I don't know. I mean, there's funny stories. Like I borrowed money. My dad was like in the Vegas business. He convinced all these like wise guys and gamblers, like, bet on my kid. And guys were like, just 2,500 for you. Hey.
What was the
That's
total
awesome.
budget then? And what
I
is
mean, I
that?
made that movie like I only started with like $60,000, and I shot some of the best shit up front. And it was during an IATSE strike in New
Wow.
York, so I was paying some cats cash to like push dollies, shit like that.
Yeah.
I had an amazing cinematographer who's like become a huge cinematographer, and for the last 30 years, like
Yeah.
but it was his first thing, and he really kind of, I'd been bounced out of film school at Parsons New School. So this guy kind of was like my de facto film studies program, working with him and learning from him. But there was something I was about to say about that. What was there a specific thing you said?
Putting the money together.
The budget. So
Yeah.
I started with 60, and we had shot some really great, the most impactful stuff. And then the two producers I had who were young guys, one was like a Wharton grad, one was a Yale grad, but they'd never worked on anything, but their resume was enough for me because they'd gone to Wharton and Yale, and I was like a fucking moron who'd never really gone to school. So I empowered them, and they ran around the IFC in New York. There was like this big market week, and they got people to come see dailies. And this guy, John Pearson, who was a really celebrated, what is it? These guys, producer rep, came and saw it, and he had just gotten $5 million from Island to put in $500,000 and up to like 10 movies, and he just fully funded the rest of my movie, and we shot the rest of it. And Sundance, Deauville, Edinburgh. Like we went to like major festivals. We were invited to Cannes, but I think the thing with Cannes was that I don't know if I think it was gonna be outside of competition in of certain regard or whatever that category is because we'd already premiered at Sundance and there was some weird politicking. But yeah, it was hot, man. It was fun, you know.
So you started shooting with only 60 grand of the
Yeah,
budget, and then it
yeah.
actually ended up getting the rest.
Yeah, I started like literally like 40 grand. And I remember like having a full crew and no money to shoot because we had no film. And then my buddy Mike Rapp, who's like a stockbroker in New York, not Rappaport, the actor, he was like, "Hey, bro, didn't you ask me to borrow money for the movie?" And I was like, "Yeah, you got it." He's like, "Yeah, send somebody right now. I'll give you like 5-10 grand." And I was like, "Fuck yeah, we got film. Let's go." And then like,
Oh yeah.
but it was crazy because it was a real crew, but everybody really like came together for it. That's what was special about it, you know? It wasn't like me, it was everybody, even like the caterers. I remember it was like this couple, I think it was like Norman Marie or Norman Marie, and
Yeah.
they were like Brits because they always make the shepherd pie stuff. They had their truck.
Ah,
And like they needed to get paid, but like if we didn't have money, they were still cooking. Like people were just committed to it because
Dope.
it was special. It wasn't, you didn't drive around and see people making a movie, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
For the love of.
And this 1991, like
Yeah.
it was not like kids were out there making a movie. The person who inspired me to make the movie most was a young filmmaker named Matty Rich, who'd made a movie in New York called Straight Outta Brooklyn, and he had it funded by his church group. And it was like, I think it was like, you know, it was a small indie movie, but it was a feat that he made it. And then at the same time, John Singleton was making Boys in the Hood,
Oh yeah.
which was, you know, really deeply personalized to John's experience. You know, and I remember going to see that while I was shooting amongst friends and being like, "Oh shit, all right, this is what my cinematographer was like, we're gonna kick their ass, this is gonna be great, better, this and that." And I became friendly with John when I got out. And I remember him introducing me to Tyra Banks, like as my movie was at the end, he's like, "Yo, this is Rob, he's a new generation filmmaker just like me." And I remember that's like probably one of those moments well, I felt like fuck, I did something. You know what I mean?
Hell
Because
yeah.
I had such like respect for John. You know, having done what he did. Um, yeah, man, it was wild, man. And you remember, there's no social media.
Yeah.
There's no connection to anything that's basically not 5 feet in front of your face.
Yeah,
Crazy.
I like just highlighting that for the audience of like, writing the script, getting out there and
Yeah.
just going and doing it and making it happen. I think that's important for people to hear. That's cool.
It's just a smaller
I
world,
don't even
man.
think there
It's
was
just,
fucking final draft. What were you doing writing the
I
script?
wrote it. So my stepmom had gotten me a word processor, and I didn't know how to use the screen. So I just literally used it like a typewriter, and I had whiteout, and I would fix it. That's how fucking.
That's
That's
wild.
That's how analog this fucking experience was. You know,
Hell yeah.
I was a kid, man. I think I was 22, 23. I started writing it. It was like, I was like, oh, I'm gonna make a short film, and I just kept going, and I'm like, oh, this is already 35 pages. Oh, I'm already like 50 pages. Holy shit, I got like 140 pages. I mean, it was so fat and epic. It just kept going, you know?
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it was like 12 days. That was it.
It took you 12 days to write it.
Yeah, I think every
Damn.
desperation has always been like a great motivator for me, man. Like, I work best when there's a gun to my head or where I look in the mirror and I just fucking hate myself. You know what I mean? Like where I'm so full of self-loathing that I'm like, I've got to do something. At that time in my life, I was like, like I said, I was early 20s. My friends were all graduating like colleges, they're all, and like, I come from like an affluent-ish area in Long Island. At least at that time I was in that. My first area I grew up in, Baldwin, was a little more working class, but the
Yeah.
Five Towns was a little more affluent. And these kids, all my friends, like went away to college, man. They're like at BU, they're at Maryland, they're at American, like, fucking
Yeah. You didn't go.
party schools. Nah, man, because I was like a fuck up. My dad put me through private school. I got out of private school with like a D minus. He's like, I'm not paying you to like fucking go to like fucking Arizona or some shit. Like, fucking
Yeah.
get real,
Fuck,
man.
I was a fucking degenerate.
Yeah, it's not bad. I was a pretty big fuck up, man. So, but he was supportive of me going to an art school because I had talent. I could draw a little bit, paint a little bit, and I could be
Love that.
watched. I could be overseen because it was in Manhattan. So I wound up going to Parsons, and I dropped out to be a club promoter, and then I started having meltdowns, like mentally. I mean, I panic attacks, and then I went back to school to get my shit together, and then I got thrown out of school. And then when my friends are getting out of college, and they're like moving into the city, they're going to work at Goldman Sachs, they got these jobs. And I think I was like, probably it's that moment. There's only the first time in life where you look at yourself in the mirror and you go, holy fuck, I'm a loser. And that was probably it for me. No, I don't believe it's
that's real, yeah.
I got to believe that every man,
Fuck yeah.
I don't give a fuck who you are, but I do believe that at some point in every man's life, multiple points, you have doubt and you despise what's looking back at you in the mirror. And I felt like a fucking loser.
Yeah.
And that's why I sat down and wrote that movie. I was like, I'm not going out like this. And then I went from the ultimate fucking like underachiever to the meteoric overachiever with a 3-picture deal at Universal by the time I'm like 25, 26.
Right.
And all the kids I grew up with are like seeing me when I go home, like, hey, do you remember me? And I'm like, what are you, fucking stupid? I went to high school with you 5 years ago. Yeah, I remember you, man.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to drop a like if you enjoyed the video.
And subscribe and hit the bell for a whole lot more to come.